Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about all the delay and headaches. I've just been having all kinds of issues today trying to get a stream set up. Hopefully, I've got everything fixed and working. Like I said, I'm rusty. It's been a while. But I think it's funny. Yesterday, I was able to stream to D live and here on YouTube without a problem. And today, all of a sudden, all kinds of headaches. Don't know if it's Restream acting up or if it's just D Live's the garbage platform that I remember from a year ago. But that's not all my issues. Some of my issues is I just don't have the graphic card to be streaming, which is funny. I have a good enough graphic card to be streaming or gaming, not a problem. But when it comes to streaming, seems to want to give a headache. I'll get it figured out. But anyway, enough of that. That's why I like YouTube. No headaches, no fuss, no muss. I can just quickly come on here and open up a Hangouts and go right to town. You know, for me, it's like last few weeks, especially being back in Ohio and, seeing all the non-planted fields, flooded fields, it brings up some interesting questions and comments and things to talk about. I mean, what do I see coming? What am I looking for in the next 6 months? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be good. With these farmers not getting their crops out, I mean, by this time of the year here in Ohio, at least in my area in Ohio, our corn's almost knee high. It should be knee high by now, and there ain't no cornfields planted yet. And that's going to affect all of us. All these wheat fields that aren't done, we're the ones that are going to be paying the price for that come this fall and winter. When all the prices go up for our food, we go to the grocery stores, and that's what it's going to boil down to. You know, how much money's actually left to give these farmers relief and emergency funds for disaster, because that's what we're in. We're in a disaster. I mean, I just went around the block. Every single one of these fields should be corn this year, because farmers around my area, they rotate their fields every other year. One year it's corn, the next year it's soybeans. We don't even got soybeans out. All this crazy weather we're getting. I mean, I've lived in Ohio practically most of my life, other than the on and off times I've lived in North Carolina. And when I lived in Brazil, but that was a long time ago. I'm not seeing this type of weather. We can get into the debate whether it's weather modification, global warming, and whatnot. The truth is, sun's getting older, planet's getting older. They talk about global warming. I mean, it is global warming in a sense. I mean, that's how I like how they take words that actually are legit things. Global warming is a legit thing, but it has nothing to do with any of us living here. fact that our sun's getting older, it's getting bigger. Eventually it will cease to exist, as many stars have. That's what we end up calling dwarf stars. When they go kaboom, they leave a little or a pulsar, a pulsating star. It's a dead sun. You know, as our sun, because when the sun starts getting older, it starts growing. Then eventually it goes out, and that causes all kinds of things. And that's part of global warming. But they don't tell you that. They want to say, oh, it's our emissions, it's our pollution. We do contribute like 1%. During the worst time in our history, and this is scientifically fact, from ice core samples, tree rings, they've proven that there, when we were at our height in the coal, when we was burning nothing but coal, steam, and everything, we still was only like 2% of the pollution that we were causing. To where, and throughout the history, through the core samples, they found where at other times the carbon dioxide and stuff was far worse than what it is today. So we can take that global warming crap and throw it out the window. I mean, do we have an impact? Oh yeah. You know, we can't be cutting all of our trees down, that's for sure. You know, that it does cause an impact. You know, for anybody that remembers, I don't know if they teach that in science anymore, but for those of you who are old enough to remember basic science, that's basic science. It's basic understanding that we need our trees to produce oxygen. They also produce carbon dioxide. But it's a cohabitating system. So, you know, I'm tired of hearing all this crap about global warming. Back in the 90s, oh, it was the ozone. We need to get rid of our aerosol cans. You don't hear them talking about that anymore, do you? Many of those cans are still on the market today. No, now it's just something else. Oh, we need to get rid of all these cars. We need to get more emission controls. It's screwing up our weather. No, what's screwing up our weather is people playing with it. You know, I've been watching a few interesting streamers of late, how they've been pointing out all these Doppler radars, how you can actually watch them, a storm being moved and pushed. You know, I'm not so much big on the chemtrails because does it happen? Yes, I've actually seen it, and you can tell the difference between a chemtrail and a contrail. But that's just part of it. I mean, they've been doing this, they've been manipulating the weather since, wow, since I can remember throughout history. If you study your history, that's why history is so important. I mean, anybody remember when China had the Summer Olympics? Remember what they did to get rid of their pollution? To clean up the air? Yeah, that's right. They fired rockets into the air to manipulate their atmosphere, to manipulate the weather. China's been doing that trick for centuries. Native Americans knew how to do it. You see, when they start talking about blaming it on this, let's blame it on root sources. Why would you want to mess with the weather? Well, if you can mess with the weather, I can control the inflation of prices at the market. I can control how much the grain's going to cost this year. Then we can put programs in place to get you addicted to where, oh, you got to be on this program to get food rations. I mean, right now, I know a lot of our neighbors around here, even when I was in North Carolina, so many people haven't even got their gardens planted because they can't, because of all this stupid, crazy weather, the flooding and stuff. It's ridiculous. I mean, I came home when I was on my way home from North Carolina when I caught the back end of the storms that dropped those tornadoes here in Ohio. I mean, we don't get, once in a blue moon, do we get tornadoes. I mean, just yesterday, hell, Cleveland, Ohio, earthquake. What the hell? 4.0. I can't remember the last time. Well, I can. It was like 5, 6 years ago, up around Youngstown and Ashtabula. But that was because of fracking. Once more, we can impact our Earth with stupid things. I mean, but all this stuff they keep pushing, it's just bull. But we're the ones that are going to be paying for it come 6 months from now. When we go to the grocery store and the prices skyrocket. And here's the worst part of this, we've experienced this before. Prices don't go back down. They never go back down. They keep staying the same. It's like that all the time. They don't care what we do. They think we have to constantly work, work, work to the point where we don't get by. So we can't barely afford health care and stuff because what are we going to do? Are we going to buy that bottle, get that subscription we need, or see the doctor for an ongoing illness? Or are we going to put food on the table? We're going to pay rent. It's starting to be to the point where our needs are becoming more costly. We cannot even enjoy our wants. This is the reason why they'd want to control weather, manipulate it, because now they can control the markets. They can force people into oppression, much like the Great Depression. And we get caught up, we're always caught up with so many different things. Bree pointed it out last night on her channel. Excuse me. There's just so much going on. There's so many topics to talk about. How do you pick just one? How do you talk about what I'm talking about now while, we still have a major issue with censorship? In fact, I'm going to jump to that real quick. This is Rambling Chaotic Minds. I can get away with what I want when it comes to jumping topics. It's not going to be under my notifications. I found this interesting. It was interesting enough that I even commented. Normally, I don't comment to senators and politicians because it's a waste of our time. They don't listen. They don't care. They're just as much as part of the problem. Dan Crenshaw. Pretty sure he's a former SEAL. Am I correct, Bree? Former SEAL, or is he former Special Forces? I know he's one or the other. I can't remember right off the tip of my head. Like I said, I've been out of the game for a little bit. But he's talking about our speech, our freedom of speech in these platforms. If you can't defend your ideas with your own free speech, then it may have been an indication that your ideas weren't very good to begin with. Shutting down others is intellectual laziness. Okay, YouTube? I agree with him. It is intellectual laziness. Bullying is what it is. We must stand as a nation for free speech. The arbitrary and standard less bans on social media are alarming and dangerous, far more dangerous than most speech they might be banning. When people feel they cannot be heard in a free society, we are no longer a democracy. He's very right. We are no longer a democracy. We haven't been a democracy forever. And I had to comment. Because there was another thread to this part. He talked about basically how Congress can't really do anything about this. That's BS. We all know it. They don't want to do it. I made this comment yesterday. For those of you who don't know, my name is Andrew Rutledge. I am a direct descendant of John Rutledge. So I posted this. My forefather, John Rutledge, would be rolling over in his grave. The taking away of our freedom of speech goes against everything our country was founded on. And it is a simple fix. Take their platforms away and see how they like it. And uphold our Constitution. It is our job of our congressmen, our representatives, to uphold our Constitution. If they failed to do so, then they are no longer representing we the people. And I've talked about this. This whole censorship crap ties right back into what I'm talking about. You can't talk about weather modification, weather manipulation, unless you want to be censored or take the risk of being censored. You know, I'm not opposed to going to different platforms, but at the same time, I use them as tools. Allows me to reach a bigger audience, a wider audience, different people. I don't do it because I'm leaving a platform because of censorship. Why? Because when you leave a platform, you're no better than those corrupt politicians. You're no better than the people that are manipulating the weather to make profit. Because you're silencing yourself. You're running. That's not patriotic, and I know many of you call yourself patriots. You're not a patriot if you're running to another platform. You're a coward. Like I said, from here on out, I'm just going to be more blunt and to the point on things. Why? Somebody has to. Apparently people forgotten how to use their voice. Apparently people think, oh, I need to go over here because I'm going to lose my YouTube channel. You know what? Please do. Take my YouTube channel. I've got plenty. And those are just the ones that are on this account. And they're all set up, ready to go for when one goes down. And my voice won't be stopped. Neither will you guys'. If you just learn to stand up and back each other. I don't care what you talk about, who you are. I don't care if you've been convicted of a felony. It's not my job to judge you. My job is to see how you act, how you represent yourself. That tells me more than what your past, because your past probably made you who you are today. But people forget that. We've been taught that we have to judge everybody by what they've done in the past. Many of you call yourself Christians and you're judging. May I remind you of the Bible quote of that. Judge not, lest you be judged, and only judge if you're spiritual. So don't give me the BS. Oh, they're banning all these Christians. Yeah, guess what? They're banning everybody else too. Anybody that speaks up against their status quo. You know, I would have loved to have the opportunity to did that interview with Jack. Because I tell you what, things would have got answered. Or he would have walked out of the room. Because it's quite simple. You can ban somebody just like quicker than I can blink my eye and snap my finger for talking about what you deem to be inappropriate, but you can let a pedophile's account stand on your platform for almost a whole week. And it's not the first time that happened. It's happened several times that we've caught it. Everybody reported it. The account's still there. I don't want to hear it from none of these platforms. The real solution is you either honor our Constitution or you lose your platform. And you tell the same thing to the corporate sector who keeps manipulating it because they're more to blame than actually some of these platforms. Oh, we're going to pull your funding. We're not going to allow you to advertise our stuff. Or, as it's gotten to a point, as we've seen what recently happened with Gab last year, we're going to take your platform away. At least Gab finally grew a backbone and went to another platform, but it doesn't matter. Can't take back what they've done already twice. Removed accounts, removed images. People say the mines is where to be. Let me show you something. See that little thing right there? What's that remind you of? Oh, yeah, YouTube. Let me show you one more thing. Oh, where's it at? I was in here earlier. There was a thing for a jury. I gotta remember where it was at. Was it my wallet? Shouldn't have been, but it might have been. Well, anyway, they got a jury system. Basically how this works. I know it's somewhere in here. I just can't remember where I found it. Might have been on my channel. But basically it asks you if you've ever got you'll get a little notification that you've been requested to a jury. Basically what that is, it's right here. You and a group of other people will review content to see if it's appropriate for the mines or if it violates their TOS. Okay. Mine's no different than Facebook, Twitter, Gab. So I don't care where you go. I can go back and pull up stuff that I investigated on WordPress where people got lost their WordPress channels on Bluehost, GoDaddy. Quit running. When you run, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. Because every time you run, you lose a fraction of your viewers. Those that are not going to follow you. And honestly, you're not being loyal and faithful to those that have followed you. You're turning your back on them. And you're turning your back on everybody on the platform who's trying to stand up. And speak out against all this censorship. You know, I'd love to be talking about important issues. But the most important issue right now is our Constitution that's being stripped away from us by the very politicians that claim we're Republicans. Oh, we're Democrats. And everybody falls for it. They fall for the stupid label game, believing in the lie, when every single last one of them, what have they done? Nothing. I do like Dan Kershaw, though. I'm not bashing him, but I'm just saying. We know government can't force this issue, and we are not trying to force them with government action, but we must speak out and speak out forcefully. This is going back to what I commented on. And yes, our government can force the issue, and they need to because it's a matter of constitution. In fact, it's a matter that they should be dealing with. But yet we've heard politicians, I've showed you the streams, showed you the live sessions of them flat out telling, oh, you need to censor, you need to remove them. When that politician that said that, right then and there, he violated his oath to office, he violated his trust to you, the people, and he's still in office. So is she. You guys need to wake up. You guys need to understand what's going on. What are you going to do 6 months from now when the prices in the grocery store and all the markets and the food go up? When you go to the restaurant to buy your little Happy Meal or whatever you're going to get, and the price goes up, because it's not going to come back down. It never does. I tell you what's not going to go up, your pay increase. These are the things you should be thinking about. Most people don't care about the farmer anyway. They don't realize how hard it is to be a farmer. How much stress and worry they go through every year. What do they worry about? Exactly what's happening right now. How much grain do they have left in their silos? How many actually put some back to hold Here's the other thing people don't realize. We could screw any country anytime we want. Why? Because most of our crops gets exported overseas to other countries. Yes, our farmlands are very important, not to just this country, but to the world. All these flooded areas. It's not just going to hurt your crops, it's going to hurt regular foods, your cattle, your pork. It's going to hurt hunters that use hunting to put game on their table, food on their table. Deer's not going to have this access to the corn, the wheat. So we're going to have a decrease in our population in deer, rabbits. And that's jumping a year from now. Come next year, we'll see a decline in hunting because we lost game, which means we lost the ability to put food on our table. Because, you know, 2 good deer a year, that lasts for a good bit. Just like going to the livestock auctions, buying a cattle to have butchered. One cattle, one cow butchered for meat will last you almost a year. That's having steaks, ground chuck, ribs, and believe it or not, yeah, you might spend $800, but you're going to spend far more in a year buying meat. So in a sense, you're actually saving money by actually buying and having a whole cow butchered. You save money when you can plant your gardens and grow your own vegetables, your own herbs. So I don't want to hear the crap about, oh, it's climate change. That climate change has nothing to do with it. And we all know what it's about. We've all seen the images. We all know it was brought in front of Congress in the 60s about weather manipulation and weaponizing weather. It's not a myth. It's not a fantasy. It's actually a fact. But many of us want to live in a fantasy world. We don't want to see what's really going on, because when we start seeing what's really going on, it makes us mad. It makes us mad that we've been lied to, deceived, tricked. It makes us mad that we start to feel like we've been treated like slaves, being forced to bow down to our masters when they forget their place. They're not the masters. We're the masters of them. They represent us, not the fallacy that they want to believe. Because the only thing they represent is their own greed. How they're going to fatten their wallets. How they're going to destroy our Constitution. Take our gun rights away. I think it's ironic. And that's the sad part. It's not even ironic, it's sad. Most of you don't even get it because you never lost your freedoms. You truly don't understand what it's like to have those freedoms taken away. Then when that happens, then you understand why it's so important, why our Constitution is so important, why our soldiers that fight for our Constitution, fight to uphold our freedoms is so important. Our everyday first responders, our police, EMTs, they don't have an easy job. And the more chaos that keeps getting caused, they're the ones that has to deal with it. They're the ones put in a tough situation. It's easy to put the blame on them when one of their idiots does something stupid. commits a crime because he thinks he's above the law, well, he's got good role models. Look at every single politician we got. I hear people talking, oh, bar's going to bring. I'll believe it when I see it. All I see from our government is them protecting their own. They always do. They don't care because they know they're above the law. When they're not, they hold an office of trust. What happens when a doctor violates his Hippocratic oath? That's right. He's considered to hold an office of trust. He loses that right. He can no longer practice medicine in any state. In fact, he can't even get a job as a janitor in a hospital. That's how bad it is when you lose, when you are stripped of those things, of the office trust. Just like a lawyer, when a lawyer becomes disbarred, can never practice law ever again. But yet our politicians can get away with murder. Some of them have, if you ask me. You know, I love these town hall debates we see aired on TV. They're a joke. They're just a fucking side three-ring circus meant for your amusement. Here, ask these questions that are on this card. Not a single person in there asks their question they really want. And the ones that try get kicked out of the event. So what do I see coming in the next 6 months? I'm going to tell you right now. Nothing any good. Higher prices for food. More people struggling to get by. Of course, they're going to blame it on climate change, global warming. I'm sure they'll try to even blame it on Trump. This is Trump's fault. And I'm sick and tired of hearing that too. I didn't like Obama, but god damn, he was my president. The people voted him in. Didn't mean I wasn't going to speak out when he did something I didn't like, because that's my job as a U.S. citizen. That's my job as an American, to speak out, to point out the facts, to point out the deceptions, the lies. That's your job. Your job is to keep our politicians in check, to keep our government in check. We're supposed to be the checks and balances, but no, we keep re-electing these same corrupt fucks back into office. Well, I should say you guys. Instead of getting in our communities, finding the true patriots, the true people that believe in our Constitution, that believe in America, and doing everything in our power to get them elected and put into office. The true people. But, our government, once again, has made that virtually impossible. They made it so you have to practically be a millionaire to run for office. Our Supreme Court failed us early in the 2000s when they said corporations can donate as much as they want, where you can only donate up to, I think, 5,000 it is. Might be less now, might be 2,000. But it's between 2,000 and 5,000 is the only thing, as much money we're allowed to donate to a campaign political party. But a corporation can buy the whole election. You want to know why? Because the Supreme Court ruled that a corporation, it may consist of American people, but it is not a single individual. Therefore, they are not subject to the interpretation of that part of the Constitution, that part of our Bill of Rights. You see, Justice Scalia vehemently wrote about this. And funny, that law didn't get changed until after his death. Or that ruling didn't take place until after his death. Think about that. And it's never been brought back in front of the Supreme Court again. Like I said, there's plenty of things that they could be working on to fix these problems, but they don't. We got probably some of the simplest laws written on a very old piece of parchment, and it's our Constitution, then our Bill of Rights. We don't need no more laws than those. You know, if you want to add one, let's just take one from the Christian Bible. The Ten Commandments right there. Perfect set of laws. The best one is love thy neighbor. We don't even practice that stuff anymore. Of course, I can get on a whole different rant on that, and we're not going there. You know, I don't have much faith in what's coming in the next 6 months. But I know what I'm going to be doing. Same thing I always do. I will get by. I know how to live off the land, even when it's harsh. I know how to not waste my money on trivial things. Not scared of a little exercise and walking if it comes down to it. There's so much things we can do, but we don't. So in a sense, yeah, we've grown lazy. We've grown a lot of things. We live in a society that's so easily triggered. It's not funny. And it's not funny. It is only going to get worse as we start approaching the 2020 elections. As things in the fall start to fully kick off. It's not going to be pretty what's coming in the next 6 months. You guys, if you can't see that writing on the wall, wow, I feel for you. And it's each day we get closer to that starting, the more these platforms are going to try to crack down. Force their hypocritical views of censorship onto us. And I dare, not like any one of them watch me, but I dare Jack Zuckerberg, join me on a stream. I dare you. You won't like it, because I'm going to call you out for everything that you've done. Just like Facebook now. I think it's funny. People are posting news articles that are supposed to be recent news that's showing up in their feeds that were like 2-3 years ago. I mean, what the hell? Is that your idea of informing the public of recent events? Something that happened 4 years ago? 6 years ago? What a joke. But yet, anybody that tries to talk about anything recent, oh, you're gone. Yeah. You see, I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. Which makes me feel really froggy. And I'm pretty well versed in the law. I'm definitely well versed in my history. You know, which is something you all should be. Bree actually brought up a good point last night too. Go to your local libraries or go to places like Restore. They sell books and stuff. You can come across old school textbooks. Stuff that's from the 80s, 90s, and 70s. Pick one up. Do a comparison with your children's new school book. See how much has been stripped out of it. How much has changed. They've tried to rewrite our history. They've admitted it publicly to you guys. Anybody ever really question why immigration has become such a big issue all of a sudden? Why we're having such huge amounts of people pushing? Well, I can tell you what, follow the money. Follow the politicians that tell them to come over. You know, our federal government, our DOJ, should be hauling the governors and mayors of California, Chicago, New York to jail for violating a federal law, a federal order. Same thing here in Ohio. The Supreme Court every year has to rule over 10,000 cases on what they call PRC, post-release control. They sentence a person to 4 years. They do 4 years, day for day. Get out and have to do 3, 2, maybe even 5, depending on what they got charged with, years of probation. The Supreme Court, because if you violate, you go back. It's a scam, money scam. They get paid every time a new person gets a number. Every time he goes back, they get kickbacks. Then a lot of the prison systems all around the United States have become private. No longer state ran, they're private facilities. We've got a judiciary system that is a mockery of justice. It ain't a judiciary system, it's a mockery of justice. But to most people, oh, he deserves it. She deserves it. There are some people out there that deserve to be behind bars. But I tell you what, the person that got popped for having a couple opiates in his pocket doesn't need to be in prison. He needs to be in a rehabilitation center, getting mental health help, drug addiction help, not a prison. You're going to send him to a place where he can get access easier? Don't make sense, does it? Just like, why are all the halfway houses and probation centers next to fucking crack houses, next to the ghettos? Well, that's right. They're there for a reason. The temptation to get somebody so they can send them back and get more money off the person. It's a revolving door. People think I joke around when I say the 1% that most people judge that have got out of the system. It's 1% for a reason, because it's designed to keep you in. Those very lucky ones that get out and get off out of the system, that try to do something with their lives, become successful, it's most virtually impossible. But you guys don't care. Oh, they committed a crime. They don't deserve it. Let's talk about being judgmental. You're talking about another human being that has every rights that you have, that he's made mistakes. And you probably made some of the same mistakes and you just didn't get caught. But yet you judge. You see, I learned quite a few things over the past year. And actually the past couple months. I made some decisions in my life, some changes. Some of those changes are removing people just like that. Judgmental, hypocritical, negative influences. Users that just want to use you. They have no place in my life. They have no place in any of our lives. So I went through and cleaned house. Not just on the social media platforms, in my own life. People that I was still attached to. Exes that I still occasionally talk to. You know, I always talk about change. You want change? It starts right at home. It starts right with you. First, you got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to admit that I'm not perfect. I got things in my life that I need to get straight before I can even help anyone. You gotta help yourself before you can help somebody else. Life isn't easy. Never gonna be. No such thing as a perfect life either. It's like there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. You're gonna go through your struggles, your ups and downs. It's what you learn from them that's supposed to make you better so you don't repeat those same mistakes. But yet we keep repeating those same mistakes when it comes to our Constitution, when it comes to our politicians, when it comes to being able to work with other individuals to take stands. We allow our egos to get in the way. We allow our emotions to overcloud our judgment. We allow our discrepancies of how somebody might do their stream keep us from doing what we should be doing, uniting and taking a stand. We're so divided, it's not funny. I don't mean to get back on the division thing, but that's what it's all about. They want us so divided that we can't stand up. And the few that can, well, we all know how that works. Eventually, the few is going to get overran. And that's what's happening on all these social media platforms. We're getting overran. So if somebody else comes up with a new site, let's go to the mines. Let's go to Gab. Let's go to D Live. Let's go to Stream It. Or Steam It, I mean. There's nothing wrong with going to these places. But why are you going there? That's the question you need to ask. Why are you going over there? Are you going over there to get away because you're being censored over here? Well, you know what? I've been over here for 2, 3, 4 years now. Longer on a couple of the other channels. I think the oldest channel is Smiley, but that's still a gaming channel. You know how many strikes I've gotten? 0. You know how many suspensions I've gotten? None. And I pushed the limit. You guys know that. But guess what I don't do? I didn't buy into their monetizing system. I seen it for what it was then. Just like I seen what Gab was. Mines was. Nobody wants to believe you when you first point these things out. I seen what D Live was before they changed platforms. Yes, I like some of the improvements. I like what it did, but in the end, it's a scam. It's a deception. So no, I don't support the mines. I don't support D Live. I don't support any of these platforms. I don't even support the hosting platforms. You know why? Because I've seen what they do. I watch this very same shit that's going on now fully happen on Ning. Most of you guys don't even know what Ning is. Ning was a social platform where you could create your websites, put your own content. They started beta testing all this censorship crap back in the early 2000s. And they really started pushing it around 2010, 2009. Talking about you can't have this content. Or we don't allow pornography on our platform, but yet if you had a paid subscription, you were allowed to have a porn site. See, no such thing as a perfect site, a perfect platform. Their TOS is only meant for one thing, to protect them and snare you. Or almost all their TOSs are the same. Why? It's meant to protect them. You know, I view all these platforms as one thing, tools. And that's what they are. They're all tools. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea. You know, and Let me tell you another simple fact. You know, I shouldn't have to worry about censoring what I'm sharing on sites, but I don't have any parental controls set up because I don't have kids. I don't have to worry about somebody getting on my kid getting on my computer and seeing something they shouldn't. To me, I'm not gonna block a person unless you apps. In fact, I can only. In fact, I've got two people blocked on all the platforms I'm on, and one of them is personal, and the other one, well, was a scumbag. You know, hey, I enjoy eye candy just as much as the next person. Do I admit that maybe there's some things that shouldn't be on there? Yeah. Or it should be put in a section that can't be accessed. But then again, it's on you. It's on each of us. My interpretation of things are different from yours. My interpretation of seeing a beautiful woman posing is eye candy to me. I enjoy beauty. I enjoy artwork. I enjoy the human flesh as being a canvas. It's the artist in me. So I have always had a different terminology of what considered porn. To me, porn is what you go to an adult website to see, not just pics. Yeah, if it's showing penetration, then that's porn. That's where you got to draw the line. But if you don't want to see it, be a goddamn adult. Mute it. Block the person. Unfollow. Don't look at it. But now you're so offended, your first instinct now is to go report it. You know what you're doing when you report stuff like that? You're infringing on somebody else's freedom of expression. Because Twitter allows it. Gab allows it. Minds allows it. Facebook does to a point. They actually have some decent rules in place for that. That do kind of do give Facebook a little bit more credit on that part. But I've seen it there too, so how well do they enforce it? Not well. But they do have a rule in place. If you go to Snapchat, you know what you're getting. I mean, yeah, there's filters. I mean, right here. Let me go back to my settings. Twitter has the very same settings. Where am I? Right here. Mature content. Easily. Just click it off. That simple. You're not going to see it. But I've also got to the point where now most of my streams and stuff, I mark it not safe for work. That's something else I've learned about YouTube. If I know I'm going to be dropping the F-bomb more than every now and then, or I'm going to be talking about a touchy subject, yep, I'm going to age restrict it. Because I do have a younger audience that does follow me. And I'm respectful of that, mindful of that. Same way with D Live. They have the very same setting when you go to do a stream. Let me show you. See? Age restricted. Even though I don't care for their terminology using X tag, but it's there. So if you know you're going to be dropping the F-bomb, use some common sense, because that's what it is. It's common sense. There's ways to play by the rules, and at the same time, I've been doing it for a while. I'm still here. It's also being an adult and being respectful to others. I don't take my shirt off so you can see my chest tattoos, because I know it might be offensive to some people. Don't care if you see my arm tattoos. I was picky about where I put certain pieces of art on my body. that's the way it should be. You know, and we start using more common sense, being respectful to others, we'll start seeing that we can get along a lot better. Yeah, we're not going to always agree. Sometimes the best thing to do is just agree to disagree. Doesn't mean we can't have good conversation, good debates. I'm still not going. I mean, yes, I played around with the Smoke and Toke show. I'm going to bring some of that back, just not the Smoke and Toke show. It's another part of my life that's going to chill out for a while, maybe for good. But I still want to have inviting the guests on. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that when I was working co-hosting over on Pirate Radio podcast. It was a new aspect, something that I always wanted to do with my channel. I played around with it a little bit with Smoke and Toke show. Didn't really, well, I didn't have internet, period, really. I was having to use a MiFi and my phone at the same time, so I wasn't able to do the best streaming. Now that I'm hooked up to somewhat better internet, it's not perfect. It's really probably some of the reason why I can't use OBS or Streamlabs. So places like DLive, unless I'm doing it like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I just don't have the compute software and the internet for it. But yeah, that kills me. I can game all day long. Not a problem. And, even for gaming, you really need a NVIDIA graphics card or a high-end graphics card. But for streaming, you have to have, if you're going to be using XSplit, OBS, Streamlabs OBS, which I do like Streamlabs OBS. It's a few bugs that I need to figure out, but I just can't multi-stream. And apparently I can't single stream to DLive, which I don't make no sense because it worked fine yesterday. But different weather, different atmosphere, it all plays a part. Just like I made a few changes while I was away too to this channel. I've added a couple managers that have access to this channel now that will be able to come on when they want and stream from my channel. Because in truth, until what happened Sunday, I wasn't coming back. I was done with the streaming. Why? Because there's just too much drama involved. There's too much when you start investigating stuff, especially some of the stuff that I've seemed to found myself investigating over the past few years. It takes its toll. It does. It doesn't mean I wasn't still investigating stuff, because I've talked about I was investigating stuff about college campuses. And the end result, yeah, I'm back in Ohio. Why? Because I don't know how to separate my emotions that well. I let things build up and build up and build up until I get myself in trouble. And it's probably simple if I would just listened and started doing podcasts again and did a few ramblings of the chaotic mind, because what I use this little thing for, ramblings of the chaotic mind, for me to vent. Things might have been a little different. But shit that happened. I don't fault nobody for that but myself. It's part of growing up, learning. You got to be willing to accept that there's things in your life that needs to change. And sometimes it takes that swift kick in the ass or that completely losing everything to realize those things for some of us. Just like it takes not much common sense to see what's coming, what's going to be happening in the next 6 months, what we're going to be dealing with. And I don't know how a lot of people are going to get by. I mean, it's bad enough a lot of people struggle to just buy groceries. I remember when you used to be able to go get groceries, you spent $100, you had 3 carts full of stuff. Now you spend $100, you're lucky to have a half a cart full. You know, there's plenty of things we could be doing, but at the same time, we don't. What are we gonna do that's going to put laws and legislation in place to prevent people from jacking the prices? Well, the only thing we can do is find the people in our communities that truly believe in the United States, that believe in America, believe in our Constitution, believe that they can fix things and want to fix things, and find a way to get them in office. That's what we can do. Our answer is not re-electing these same people back in. I mean, God, some of the people we have in office right now truly need to have a mental health examination. Honestly. And we need to demand that the corruption stops. The lobbyists are no longer allowed. If you get caught talking to the lobbyist, you're both going to jail. Get rid of the lobbyists. Get rid of the pork barrel spending. Get rid of politicians that cannot uphold our Constitution, that refuse to uphold it. You see, here's the other thing. It's not our Congress's responsibility to interpret our Constitution. Their job is to uphold our Constitution. It's our Supreme Court's job to interpret and render a ruling on our Constitution. Congress needs to remember that when they talk about issues. Their job is to uphold the Constitution. We need to take guns away. We need to put restrictions on ban. No, you're not upholding the Constitution. That's not your job. That's the Supreme Court's job. And they need to be reminded of this. They need to be reminded that they don't work for them, they work for us. There's always going to be that gun debate. And that's cool, but it's also respect. Respect the fact that if I choose to own guns, to defend myself, to hunt with, that's my right. I'm going to respect the fact that you don't like guns. And I'm not going to force you to learn how to shoot or broach the subject if I know it easily triggers you or offends you. That's your right. Same way with the Constitution. I hear people say stuff all the time that, wow, I can't believe they just said that. What a dick. Right? Yeah, I'm being a little judgmental there. We all are. But am I going to report them? No, not my place. They have the right to express themselves, to say what they want. It's just like if I so choose, I have a right to react and say what I want to say. But I've learned over the years, you know what the best thing to say? Nothing. Walk away. Because they're just looking for attention. They're nothing more than attention whores. trying to get under your skin because they know if they can trigger you, if they can control you, if they can manipulate you. We give too much power over words. We give too much people power over us when no one should have any power over us. As far as I'm concerned, the only being that has power over us is God. And that's whatever name you choose to call your God. I'm not on that BS. We have a right to believe in what we want, practice what we want. You know, just like the ideology of Sharia law. That's not a religion. That's an ideology. Let's keep the facts straight and stop calling it a religion. Because there are good Muslims out there that practice Islam, that does not believe in, I know several. There's a, careful what I say there. I know a store owner in Boone. He's Muslim. He's used to live I think, where was it? It wasn't Iraq. It was Iraq, I think, maybe Iraq or Iran, somewhere in that area. Somewhere in the Middle East. That's where he was from. He moved to this country. You know why he moved to this country? Because he wanted his freedoms. He wanted the very things we value and hold dear. He wanted to be a part of America and became a U.S. citizen. He flat out, man, I practice Islam, but we don't believe in that Sharia law crap. We can't have that here in the United States. It'll destroy it. That's all they're about. Think about that. You know, that store owner is probably one of the coolest store owners I met because you can sit there and have a conversation with him about anything. And once he got to know you, if he liked you, man, you get discounts. He was awesome. And you've seen by his actions, the way he held himself in public, the way he treated others. So you can't judge everybody by one bad apple or a group of bad apples. So let's stop calling Sharia law a religion. Sharia a religion. It's an ideology. It's an ideology of hate. You know? The problem is, most people can't get out of their damn boxes long enough to carry a conversation with different people from different ideologies, different belief systems. They just judge them based on the label that they call themselves. Or they hide behind labels. Many in the communities hide behind the label of being a patriot when they are not a patriot. Many throw the term righteousness around. Yeah, we've seen what righteousness gets. History has shown us what righteousness is all about. For those that don't know, look at the Crusades, look at the Inquisitions, look at the persecution of the heathens, heretics that opposed the Catholic Church. So they were labeled heathens, heretics. Many Christians were labeled heathens and heretics because they refused to follow Catholicism and the Catholic Church. You know, people forgot their history. We let other people try to teach us a different version of history. And all it's done is to further divide us. This ain't the same country our founding fathers founded. We've lost sight of what our founding fathers wanted for our country. And there's a lot of blame to go around on that one. And yes, and when I say a lot, I mean everybody's to blame. Even everyone that's listening. You claim to be awake? Yeah, you might be. Do you know your history? Do you know the facts? Do you judge people because they're different? Because they might have made some bad mistakes, but yet they've changed, but you can't see past their past? You know, that's the crap I'm sick of. Because that's the very seeds that's going to keep us continually divided. That's going to be the seeds that keep these platforms doing what they're doing. It's going to keep these politicians in office. You know, and everything I've talked about in the next 6 months, it's just going to heat up. It is. I'm dreading to see these next 6 months because it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. They're going to be pushing the division. They're going to be pushing and trying to pit each of us against each other. Man, we had a nice little break there for a little bit. I mean, we had our still had our issues, but man, once more back into the fray. Once more, they're going to stoke that fire. They're not going to be happy until they have stripped us of everything. And they're going to use every tool at their disposal. And they are, right now, in front of your eyes. Many of them are doing it right in front of your eyes, blatantly. What tools do you have access to? I mean, I've kind of showed you some of mine, but I don't leave the platforms that I'm on. I get to be able to interact with various people. From different people. That's what the beauty of all these platforms are. Yeah, they're fun. And they can be sometimes full of drama. But they're all the same. The only difference is you're getting a different audience. Now, life isn't easy, and it's not going to get any easier. In fact, it's going to get a lot harder. You know, everybody's got their opinion on politics. Unfortunately, we've allowed politics to divide us. And as long as we keep doing that and not addressing and focusing on the real issues and the things that we can be doing, bringing about change, and bringing about change is not re-electing the same crooked politicians back in. You know, it's bad enough with all the crooked ones we got now in office. You know, and that's the part. I know some of you say, oh, the Republican. No, they're not. I mean, how many times has a Republican up there tried to strip you of a constitutional right? There've been several. They're not the answer. See, once more, we're adhering to a label that's an illusion. There's no such as thing as a good party because you're voting based on a party line, a label, not the person. You're not researching, fact checking what the person is saying. What have they done? Are they really about what they're saying? Are they really about you, the American voter? Are they really going to represent you? That's what you need to be looking for when you go to elect your next politician, your next governor, your next mayor, your next sheriff, your next president. Not what they, not the words that come out of their mouth, their actions. What have they done? How have they voted on certain issues? What is it? What have they? I mean, it's all public record, cleared down to their college theses that they've written. What did they say? You're not going to see any of that on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and PBS, and all the rest of the stupid networks. You know, I get more enjoyment watching other streamers than I do watching TV now. It's better content, a lot more educational, a lot more interaction. And that's what these big cable networks and news networks fear. They do fear that. But truthfully, they've lost the right to report the news. They're nothing but actors, reporting what they're told to report. How many of these news agencies have gotten caught setting up fake stuff, a fake scenery to report? Half your reporters don't even go in the field no more. They all take it from one cameraman and set behind a blue or green screen like they're there and report. News ain't news anymore. You know, they talk about people manipulating elections, influence elections. The biggest influencers of elections are the social media platforms themselves by their censorship, the very news networks and cable networks. They have more influence over the elections than we do. Then we have corporations that can throw multi-million dollars into election campaign funds so that their candidate, the one that's going to represent them, gets elected. Then what people don't think about, this is what the Supreme Court missed, that many of these big corporations, many of their top executives live in Dubai, Europe, China. So our elections are being bought and paid for by another country, which is illegal. Somehow they missed that in their little ruling in the Supreme Court. That little simple aspect, that little simple verbiage of language within that. You know, just like they talk about helping the farmers, you want to help them fix the prices so they can't, so big corporations and markets can't jack the prices because the farmers are the ones that suffer. Then we suffer because we can't afford to buy. You know, just like everybody talks, let's raise minimum wage. I've talked about this before. Sure, let's raise it. All for it. Does no good. Either you jump a tax bracket and you're making less, or the state you live in, or the county you live in, increases the prices of stuff to match the increase of pay. Guess what? That $5 gallon of milk that you're paying for, still, that you're now paying $7 for, still the same price. In fact, actually, it's costing you more now because you might have jumped the tax bracket and therefore you're making less money. So it don't work. In theory, sounds great. In practice, been proven time and time again. It fails. But I think I've rambled on for enough. Think about it. Ask yourself, what do you see is coming in the next 6 months? Think about the things that are around you, that you see every day. The fields you pass that are unplanted because of all the rain and flooding we've gotten. Think about what you're going to be paying for your groceries in 6 months. Think about the fact, the next 6 months, that these platforms aren't put in check and made to uphold our constitutional rights of freedom of speech. How many more people are going to be gone? How much more content is going to be taken away because they don't want you influencing elections? But they have no problem if the major news networks do it. They have no problem if our celebrities come out and promote things. But heaven forbid, we the people speak our voice. And that is dangerous. And that is wrong. We have the right to speak our voice. So, if you want to go to another platform, go. You're not fixing the problem. You're running. You're doing much what I've done. Running from things. It's funny. The only thing I've never ran from is these platforms. Seem to always be on them. Seems to always doing something on them. Yeah. Thought the answer was moving to North Carolina. That wasn't the answer. The answer was fixing the things I needed to fix within myself. So, everybody runs. We just have different reasons for doing it. Doesn't mean it's right to do. You should be facing your problems, facing your fears, and overcoming them, becoming a better person. And don't be under the misinterpretation that it's easy. It's not. But you'll feel better afterwards, trust me. But with that, I am going to let you guys go. I've got other things I need to be doing. And I'll see you on the next video whenever I decide to do one. You guys have a safe and fun week.